Let me ask you this, and that is, of all the stories you did in that early stretch when you guys were basically out alone on this story, are there a couple that stand out in your mind, either for the significance of the revelation or the sheer shoe leather that went into producing it?
Sure. There are two stories. We had discovered early on by going to the person, we knocked on doors at night. That was the basic methodology, and it's what I had learned at the Star. You don't get to people in their offices where they're under pressure. You go see them in their homes. You get them to go to a restaurant, but no, don't go to their offices. And so we started knocking on doors at night, and I found the bookkeeper, as she's called in the book. She knew where the money was dispensed. I didn't know that when I got there, but I managed to get in the door and start talking to her, and it all started to become apparent. And from that introduction to the, it is the basis of follow the money. And she started telling us that there were 5 people that controlled the secret fund that paid for Watergate. And she wouldn't name them, and it took us a while to get it. But we quickly learned that John Mitchell, the former Attorney General of the United States, Nixon's campaign manager, former law partner, had been among the 5 people who controlled that fund. And so we got ready to report the story, and we told Bradley, and he said, "You sure you're right? You're going to call the Attorney General of the United States a crook." And there's never been a story like this. And so we put it in the paper. And so that's the first major, that took it and put Watergate in a whole other realm. And then on October 10th, we did a story that said that the Watergate break-in was just part of a vast campaign of political espionage and sabotage aimed by the White House at Nixon's Democratic opponents.
But again, it's method, if I may,
yeah.
of what happened before. On October 9th, I had gone to see Deep Throat Mark Felt in the underground parking garage, and he was agitated, and he was pushing me, and he said, "You've got to look at the overall." And it was kind of, don't you understand what you have here? This is not just the Watergate burglary, it's dirty tricks. Carl had tracked down Donald Segretti, who was the dirty trickster. And Mark Felt kind of laid it out and said, "No, this is a much bigger thing. Are you dumb? Don't you understand what you have?" And I typed up my notes, and I'd been up all night on this, and we came into the office on that day, and you looked at the typed notes, I remember, and this is one of these, sometimes there are epiphanies in journalism, and you had one, and you said, because no one knew except us that Mark Felt was the deputy director of the FBI, and so you just typed out and said, "FBI files show that there was this massive campaign of sabotage and espionage." And people for 35 years wondered, who was Deep Throat? And there it was in the headline, the Washington Post, the FBI. But the amalgam of the information and your sense of, let's not hide the FBI.
But it's not only that, though. It was picking the words political espionage and sabotage raised this thing to a new level. The White House kept talking about a third-rate burglary. Both the contents of the story and the language of the lead, and including the FBI, but this notion of a vast conspiracy took it to a whole other level.